Debbie Clark. She's going to give you some of a rundown. We didn't get this together by New Year's Eve, and a lot of people were gone anyway, so she's going to tell you some of the things that we did this past year, and then I'll follow up a little bit too.
So, for a small church, there are a lot of things that went on for 2019. 6 pages long. I'll try to get through it quick. Okay, so we had some special occasion dinners and services. We had the New Year's Eve service and messages with communion and refreshments. There was a St. Patrick's Day dinner, a ladies' tea with the special speaker, Faith Bogdan. And we had a ladies' meeting in Jamestown, Valentine banquet that Sister Cheryl put on, the Sunday school picnic at the zoo, the banquet celebrating Lucy Baldwin's dedication, Reformation film and refreshments, the corn maze outing, Christmas party hosted by Cheryl, Kim, and Rebecca, and a Christmas program directed by Sister Cheryl Karam. Then, for our visiting ministries, we had Pastor Curtis Sharp, Pastor Claycomb, Pastor Swaroop, Dr. Paul Karam, Pastor Alden Krupp, and a Gideon speaker. Our pastor had teaching and preaching sessions, and at ZMI, he did the book of Daniel, Journey of Israel. He had a board meeting. Guatemala, the graduation services where he taught the book of Genesis. He was in El Salvador for a graduation service. India, he had 2 graduation services and taught the book of Hebrews, plus he ministered in 6 to 7 cities while he was there. There were 2 convention messages at ZMI, Telugu Conference in New Jersey, ministry in Westminster, Maryland, 2 prison services, had part in the establishment of a Bible school in Hyderabad, India. London ministry taught the book of Jude. Israel, he performed 1 funeral for Doug Ellis and our home church, plus other ceremonies for a total of 130 sessions for the year of 2019. So, the countries that our church has impacted were other church Mount Zion ministers or members had ministered. We had Mexico, Pastor Frank, and our Pastor Daniel J. Ireland, Pastor Frank. Singapore, Pastor Tim and Joanne. Germany, Pastor Daniel and Kasha. India, Pastor Swaroop. And Israel, Pastor Swaroop. In El Salvador, we had Marlon and Liz. Other church ministries or activities, Miami, Pastor Frank and Pastor Daniel J. We had a Zion Youth Camp, Pastor Frank. Prison services, Pastor Frank, Pastor Daniel J. and Brother Marlon. Albany, Pastor Frank, Marlon and Liz. Clearwater, Florida, Pastor Frank. Houston, Texas, Pastor Dan and Cheryl. And Virginia, Pastor Frank, Marlon and Liz. Ulysses, Pastor Frank. And we had Bethany food distributions. Different members took part. Traverton, Port Traverton, PA, Pastor Daniel J. and Cheryl. And we had a wedding with Jesse and Avery. The Zion Youth Camp counselors, 2 of our members, Rebecca and Jesse Socash, were counselors for that. And Rebecca accompanied Pastor Frank on many occasions. So, presently overseas, we have Reverend Daniel and Kasha in Singapore. We have Reverend Tim and Joanne in Singapore, and Reverend Swaroop in India. And there were ceremonies. We had the marriage of Jesse Oakes. We had installations. No, I guess there were none installations. Sorry about that. We had birth, Lucy Baldwin, baby dedications with Lucy, and baptisms for Andrew and Emily. And there were graduation services at Zion, funerals. No church members, however, there were a number of deaths in the fellowship and in some of the immediate family. So this year we had Pastor Charlie Phillips, Brother Paul Bonser, Pastor Carlos Molina, Pastor Pedro, and Sister Joyce Palmer. There were conventions in the spring and fall. And the other church news, the Ferrari family relocated to Kennedy Space Center in Florida, but they remain on our membership roll. And this is the first full year of Pastor Tim O'Connell and Joanne as a part of the ministry of the Lighthouse Church in Singapore, where there are 8,000 members at the church. Pastor Dan and Jan are feeling comfortable at the present church they attend in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And Jan has had a remarkable improvement in health since they moved there. And we're really glad to see that God answered prayer in that area. Building projects and upgrades. We will have our treasurer's report at another time. And we are still waiting, as Pastor's going to talk about Brother Swaroop in India, what he just received after this was constructed. And if we missed anybody on this report, it wasn't intentional. And then the last thing is from Daniel and Kasha. Dear Pastor Dan, sorry this is a little late. I hope it still will make it on time. This past year, I did devotionals for one OMT retreat and a couple of other devotionals. I also had a few preaching opportunities, one in a church, one at a young adults Bible study, and other than that, I'm involved in various charitable works and assist with the street ministry. Please pass on our love to the church there. God bless each and every one of you, Daniel and Kasha.
And that's from Germany.
Yes, from Germany. So there was a lot of activity for 2019, and we look forward to what the Lord's going to do for 2020. Amen.
Thank you. And also, I just received the activities from India from our Pastor Swaroop there, and believe me, you don't want to try to pronounce these 10-syllable names, cities, but probably ministered in at least 25 cities more than once. I mean, many of them, like Hyderabad, maybe 10 times in Hyderabad. But various teachings, preachings, family meeting, pastor meetings, new school inauguration. Of course, we were there for a couple of graduations there at 2 different cities last year. And family conference, gospel meetings, pastor seminars, and ended up with the New Year's Eve service as well. And I believe last week they had a meeting at a Lutheran church with about 700 people there, and they had a number of converts there in the church. So we're just thankful for our brother Swaroop in India doing great things. Anyway, that's our little report for 2019, and maybe later on we can get just a short summary of the Treasury's report for the year as well. Okay,